Commission family sa pangunguna ni Chairperson Carlo Alexi Nograles at Commissioners Eileen Lizada at Ryan Acosta at sa buong CSC family. I hope people can feel and appreciate na binawasan po natin yung aircon po dito sa ating budget hearing room dahil personally invested na rin kami ni Chair Carlo sa ating kalusugan. Dahil pagaling po tayo at nagbabantay laban sa sakit, sa sobrang lakas na aircon. Anyway, tulad nung nakaraang taon, gusto po nating marinig ang updates ukol sa gustong isulong ng administrasyon na tinatawag na right sizing ng burokrasya na nasa House Bill 7240. Patuloy itong nagdudulot ng pangamba at agam-agam sa mga kawani ng gobyerno. Salamat sa maagap na pagtitiyak ni Chair Carlo na hindi madedehado ang ating mga kawani habang patuloy pa ring mabigyan ng mahusay at tapat na serbisyo ang mamamayang Pilipino. This time, it comes on the heels of reports that came from CSC itself that there are 204,000 permanent positions in government, of which more than 110,000 are in national government agencies. Bakit po kaya walang maibigay na plantilla items kung saan may pangangailangan pero marami palang ahensya ang may mga bakanting positions? Hindi lang yan, tila patuloy pa ang paglobo ng mga JO sa gobyerno. I understand that DBM and CSC have come up with a plan to address this, so we hope to hear it. And because we are again here to examine the budget that CSC will receive for 2024 under the Finance Committee, Subcommittee H, the committee wishes to see whether the funding will allow CSC to continue fulfilling its mandate as the central personnel agency of government while promoting morale, efficiency, integrity, responsiveness, progressiveness, and courtesy in the civil service. With that, we are now ready to listen to your budget presentation, Chair. After which, as has been the practice, our senators, based on their arrival or log-in time, so malamang mauuna si Sen JV, but of course, beginning with the minority leader, if present, we'll have 10 minutes per round of questions. So, Chair Carlo, you have the floor.
Thank you very
Stay
much.
healthy po.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Senator Risa Ontiveros, and Senator JV, and all the other senators who will be coming in later. Thanks for giving us the time, Madam Chair. I know that you're under the weather, as so am I.
Oh, by the way, Chair, salamat kaayo for agreeing to reschedule this hearing from last week to this week instead. Salamat po.
Thank you, Sen. Again, the CSC and the CES Board thanks the Honorable Committee for giving us the opportunity to present our budget. So our outline for today's presentation will follow the following. I don't know if it's on the screen.
Comsec, pwede na nating share yung presentation ni Chair. Pati dito sa harap ng Chair, walang video. Pero sige, simulan na muna natin dito sa monitor sa wall.
While we're waiting for that, just to read, we'll just show our alignment with the PDP, our Philippine Development Plan, our highlights on the and major trusts for 2024, our budget proposal against the DBM recommendation and the NEP, our approved budget this 2024 against our 2023 budget. Then we'll show our major programs and projects to be undertaken during the budget year, status of our fund utilization, comparative budget utilization, and our priority items for possible restoration by the Senate and the House of Representatives. So as to our alignment with the PDP, under the new PDP or Philippine Development Plan, we are basically our role is found in Chapter 14, the subsector goal of practice good governance and improve bureaucratic efficiency. So related to this, we in the CSC, of course, our mission is gawing lingkod bayani ang bawat kawani. And to achieve this, we have our new vision. By 2030, the CSC shall be the leader in empowering people and organizations in human resource and organizational development and in serving the public through streamlined and digitalized services. So for budget purposes, Madam Chair, you will find that our programs based on the Prexi are three key programs: Civil Service Professionalization and Workplace Cooperation Program, the Civil Service Human Resource Governance Program, and the Administrative Justice Program. Later on, we will discuss how under those three programs we have allocated our budget. On the next slide, for 2024, we would like to just highlight to the Honorable Senate that we shall continue in 2024 to formulate proper human resource policies aligned and responsive to the current needs and the current challenges. We shall enhance the civil service systems and procedures in fulfillment and support of the Ease of Doing Business Act, or RA 11032. We shall continue our digital transformation, both externally to our external stakeholders, as well as internally in digitally enabling our regional and field offices. We shall continue to push the Prime HRM, which is the program to institute meritocracy and excellence in human resource management. And we plan also to continue expanding our civil service examinations to respond to the increasing number of test takers and demand for more frequent civil service exams. The next slide, we are here by showing our proposed budget to the DBM as compared with what was approved in the NEP. So as you can see, Madam Chair, we proposed a budget of 3 billion 46 million. But what was approved by the DBM was 2.060 B. The next slide will show, compared to the 2023 budget, there's a slight increase, whereas in the previous 2023 budget, or GAA, we were given 2.054, and for the DBM NEP recommendation under the NEP, it's 2.060. So there's a 0.26% increase, Madam Chair. So based on expense class, next slide, most of the budget goes to obviously personnel services, then very little capital outlay, and then of course MOE. So the highlight here in this slide would show that our budget in the Civil Service Commission is actually just 0.036% of the total national budget. And that is significant when you compare that, next slide, to how much other countries in the ASEAN, how much budget they allocate for their for our counterparts in their own civil service. So for the Philippines, 0.036% with 1.9 million civil servants. In US dollars, it's 36.26 million. But for Thailand, they spend 45 million for their own civil service with only 382,000 civil servants. Compared to Malaysia, they spend 313 million US dollars at 0.43% of the national budget with 1.58 million civil servants. And Indonesia, our neighbor, is 147.3 million in US dollars, which translates to 0.07% for 4.2 million civil servants. So
I
comparatively,
don't remember if I asked you during our briefing, pero wala pa pong parang international gold standard or threshold or floor for civil service authorities in different countries. Ano po? or
Um,
as a percentage of their national
well,
budgets?
Madam Chair, based on our discussions with our counterparts, iba-iba po eh. There's really, I don't know how we can measure a gold standard. So the best we can do is measure ourselves with our neighbors, and much is to be desired based on our budget. Okay. If I may continue, Madam Chair. So going back to our Prexy targets, so the series of slides after this will show what our Prexy targets are, and how much we've allocated for that. No, so for instance, in the program for civil service HR policy and information management, we have outcome indicators such as the number of users utilizing data for policy and program development in respective agencies. So our target is 159,500. The percentage of stakeholders who rate our policies as satisfactory or better is 85%. And for Prime HRM, the number of agencies meeting maturity level 2, 3, or 4, which is bronze, silver, or gold level, is 115. So for that program, for this entire program, we've allocated an MOE budget of 18.5 million. If we continue to the next slide, our other targets under this program, the number of HRM systems recognized, the number of maturity level 2 in recruitment, selection, and placement and performance management, or the accreditation award, is 129 agencies. The timely updating of our government human resource inventory and the percentage of authenticated copies of records, such as eligibility records, 100%. For the next program, we are also measured in terms of public assistance. So for complaints resolution rate, our outcome indicator is 90%. For the complaints referral rate, it's 100%. And our MOE budget for those programs is 5.9 million. Next, on the civil service professionalization sub-program, we also have targets such as percentage of appointments acted upon. 75% is our target. The efficiency rate in the release of results in pen and paper civil service exams. This is a new indicator, Madam Chair, because we've increased the number of exam slots. So because of the increase in the number of exam slots per year, the efficiency rate was also changed as a new indicator reflective of that increase. So if it's 300,000, we have to release our results in 60 days, and every 5,000 in excess of 300,000 examinees plus 1 day. The next item will show the number or percentage increase in the pool of eligibles. Our target is 12,188. And this new indicator shows that the volume of examinees registered to take civil service eligibility exams is 500,000. So, Madam Chair, as mentioned earlier in our meeting, in our previous meeting, we took the challenge of the Senate from the last budget hearing. The challenge to the civil service was to increase our number of exam slots. So from an average of, let's say, about 400, 300, 400 to less than 500,000 per year, we've now exceeded that. So much so that this year, Madam Chair, we're happy to report that we have in 2023 more than 700,000 examinees. So this new indicator by DBM has increased our exam slots to 500,000, and we're confident that for 2024 we can easily reach that. If 2023 is any indicator na almost 750,000 na ang nabigyan namin ng exam slots. The next slide would show our other indicators. for the capability building sub-program naman po namin, this is the number of agencies reporting application of their LND. So that's 56. The number of learning and development or LND participant days, 73,752. And then the next slide will show the public sector unionism sub-program. Our indicators are percentage of related disputes resolved through amicable settlement, that's 53%. The number of agencies with accredited public sector unions, 1,222. The number of accredited PSUs with CNAs is 1,353. And then finally, the sub-program or the program on administrative justice. This is the percentage of cases decided, 40%, and the percentage of promulgated cases decided within 1 year from filing is 75%. As you can see in the slide, these are new articulations. Actually, to clarify, these are new articulations because DBM gave us a new formula to use when computing for this number. So we used to be there. We had an old formula for computing these two indicators, but since DBM asked us to adjust our formula in computing these, this would be our new articulation for 2024, Madam Chair. So these are the assigned MOE budgets per program and sub-program. The next slide would show our fund utilization. And again, as always, we're happy to report that the CSC has been very efficient in our utilization rate. So much so that if you look at our 2022 actual CSC budget utilization, we are almost 100% at 98.99%. And if you compare this with previous years, next slide, it would show that, I'm sorry, that's the slide after. But for June of, as of June of 2023 or the first semester, we would show that we are on track naman po in again reaching a 99% utilization rate or higher, because as of June 2023, compared to our previous utilization in 2022, halos magkaparehas naman ang aming utilization rate. So the next slide will show how we compare with 2022. And again, if 2022 is any indicator wherein we hit 98.99%, then I'm sure for 2023 we will hit the same percentage of budget utilization. Next slide. So compared to previous years, we've always hit naman more than 91%. So sa 2019 lang maaring nahirapan because that was COVID time. But otherwise, so that's like an outlier right there. But other years naman, we've been very responsible in budget utilization.
Actually, Chair, 2019 was pre-COVID, but even during the 3 years of the pandemic, pumapala kayo ng 98,
Yes.
99%.
Yes po, Madam Chair. Okay. So next slide would show, for consideration lang po ng Senate, we have some items for restoration. As I reported earlier, our budget request from DBM was not given entirely. So what will be affected are our recurring expenditures when it comes to ICT or ISSP, if you will. So these recurring expenditures are mostly for software updates, for software for computer, our all that. Subscriptions there. I was looking for the word.
Oo,
For our
huwag kayong
subscriptions.
Wag kayo mapa-PhilHealth. It's sad for me to say that because I love that agency. So
Yeah, so cybersecurity kasama po dyan. So these are recurring expenditures namin sa aming ICT. Sadly, these were not, so we will need sana po help from the Senate in restoring these because if you look at our recurring expenditures, maybe we can go to the next slides.
And Chair, parang updated na itong slide na to, di ba? If I remember our briefing correctly, yung items nyo originally for possible restoration, mga 10 or 100. But when we discuss alin ang priorities nyo, sabi nyo nga parang 3 nga. So ito
Yes.
na po yun.
Opo.
Okay.
So it's ISSP recurring expenditures. Our MOOE utilities, sadly, ang tatamaan po dito are our regional offices. So these cover, as you can see, Madam Chair, electricity, water, telephone, internet, janitorial, security services, building insurance, other expenditures. So strangely enough, some regions were given, but other regions were not given. So that was what was slashed. So, sige po. So here's a recurring expenditures. If you will see, kasama po dyan yung mga subscriptions namin to Office 365, halimbawa, and other IT needs namin. So even
And no
server,
procurement problems naman about those, Chair. Ano? So it's
wala.
just a matter of hopefully restoring the item and then
Yes.
as a matter of course ma-renew nyo.
Opo,
Okay
opo.
po.
So these are ICT expenditures na recurring. So every year yan or every other year. Then the next slide will show what regions were hit. So this is a continuation. And the regions that were hit for the MOOE utilities, NCR, sadly, RO1, Region 2, Region 5, Region 7, Region 13, BARM, and CAR. And our smaller regions, sadly, are included there. BARM, halimbawa CAR, Caraga, that's Region 13, and even Region 2. So it's a mix. We don't really understand why sila yung tinamaan, whereas the other regions napagbigyan naman po. So this is something that we hope the Senate can help us in restoring. Otherwise, matatamaan yung utility, yung operations ng regions. Next slide. So for capital outlay, as I mentioned earlier, Madam Chair, we don't have much capital outlay. And this slide shows the number of buildings or structures that we would need for our regional offices and field offices. For instance, Region 2, that's supposed to be our field office in Batanes. So we don't have a field office in Batanes yet. So we'll need 20M for our field office Batanes. Right now, the Batanes is sharing a field office with Cagayan, so that our constituents, your constituents in Batanes would have to go to Tuguegarao actually, or our field officers from Cagayan will have to go to Batanes every now and then, just to serve the stakeholders there, no. So for Region 3 naman po, you'll see it's for the field office in Zambales and for the dormitory in R3. For Region 7, this is for the Cebu North and Siquijor. For Region 8, that's supposed to be our exams service division building. For Region 10, it's for Lanao del Norte and Misamis Oriental. Wala rin po silang field office sa Lanao del Norte and Misor. For Davao, there's a regional center, new regional center in Davao. And although the amount there is big, 196 million, Madam Chair, actually phase 1 is, we just need for phase 1 about 68M just to get the ball rolling, just to get a building constructed there. So for Region 12, this is for North Cotabato. We don't have a field office in North Cotabato. For Caraga, that will be their regional office in Caraga. and one in Dinagat Island. As you know, wala po kaming field office for Dinagat. And sadly sa BARM po, ito, napagbigyan na ito before but hindi na-utilize ang budget, previous commission. So our constituents in Lanao del Sur is really looking forward to their building in Lanao Sur at BARM. So that's 7 million.
Nasunog na, Chair, yung original appropriation for Field Office Lanao del Sur.
Yes, so there were
Bumalik na sa treasury
previous,
in
yes,
2 years.
opo. So what happened, if the information I got was correct, there was a budget, but because it was not utilized, then it reverted, something to do with the property, problema sa property yata. But now we have assurance naman po that there's a lot allocated for us in Lanao Sur. So that's something na we really want to push for. Kasi BARM po ito, Madam Chair. So I think that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much again, Chair. I actually, if my colleagues are not yet around or online, I actually just have 2 questions prepared for our hearing. Pero dun din sa presentation nyo ngayon lang, I noticed you also have contract of service personnel manning your IT services. Wala po bang plantilla items para sa kanila doon?
So if I may explain, for the longest time po, Madam Chair, wala kaming ICTO office. It was only under this present commission that we were able to lobby and convince DBM to give us an ICTO office complete with staff. So as you could understand in the thrust and push for digitalization in the Civil Service Commission, it's very important that we have an ICTO office. For now, we have an integrated records management office that doubles up as our ICTO. But pasalamat kami sa DBM na napagbigyan kami. So in the meantime that we are currently finalizing our qualification standards for the items in the ICTO office, nagsi-COS lang muna kami. So hopefully, we will be able to finalize the qualification standards for those positions, and then we'll publish the positions na po. Parang meron lang kaming back and forth with the ICT on ano ba talaga ang qualifications for the different ICT officials, employees in our ICTO office. Then we'll publish. Pero yung COS namin, I think may advantage na sila kasi nakapag-umpisa na sila. But of course, they'll have to go through the same process of applying and going through our Human Resource Merit Selection Promotion Board.
So probably in the next budget debates, makakakita na ang Senado ng proposal ng CSC na for the IT services, meron na kayong pinupunong or pupunuing plantilla positions.
Yes, Madam Chair. By next year, 2024, we'll be able to fill those up already.
Tama. So Senator Sonny may or may not join us in a bit. So I guess I'll just go to my 2 questions. So in the CSC's 2024 proposal, there exists a locally funded project amounting to 41.51 million pesos for the implementation of RA 9485, otherwise known as the Anti-Red Tape Act of 2007, as amended by RA number 11032, otherwise known as the Ease of Doing Business and Efficient Government Service Delivery Act of 2018. So, ano pong pagkakaiba or pagkakapareho sa mandate ng CSC laban sa red tape at yung mandato din ng ARTA para lang siguruhin walang duplication, but rather magko-complement kayong dalawang ahensya sa isa't isa dun sa laban kontra sa red tape?
Thank you. Timing din, Madam Chair, na we just signed a MOA with the ARTA just last month. September ba yun? August 30. So we just signed a MOA which delineates the functions. So historically, CSC talaga yung nag-handle ng anti-red tape. So we had R2 units, ARTU units in our different regions ng Civil Service Commission. And then came the Ease of Doing Business Act, which created the ARTA. So necessarily, we had to sit down with ARTA and delineate our functions. So basically, in the MOA that we signed last August 30, it shows na for a citizen, halimbawa, na may reklamo siya, violation ng Red Tape, Anti-Red Tape Act, that citizen can go to CSC. Ang advantage po ng CSC, Madam Chair, is we're present in all regions, whereas ARTA is not yet. Now, they're still trying to get offices in different regions. So for a citizen, he or she can go immediately to our CSC regional office, go to our R2 units, and file a complaint. Kami sa CSC, once we receive it sa regional office namin, we will refer it to the ARTA. So ARTA ang magfa-finalize or tutulong sa citizen in finalizing the complaint. After the complaint is finalized, then they can file the complaint already sa CSC. Kasi ang CSC po ang mag-hearing ng case ng red tape. And then we will decide accordingly. But for instance, if for some reason the ARTA does not see a prima facie, does not see a case, ni-refer na namin yung complainant sa ARTA. Tapos for some reason, sabi ng ARTA, I don't see a problem here. That citizen, if not satisfied, can still go to us sa CSC. And our R2 unit will be the one to handle and will still hear the case. So yun po yung simply put ang delineation of functions namin.
Salamat, Chair. It's also, I don't know if mababanggit ni Sir Perez mamaya for ARTA, but it's also good dahil ARTA is in a way the new kid on the block compared to earlier institutions in government. Nalilinaw din talaga nila ano yung division of labor. Earlier, they had their own process with the Office of the Ombudsman. So ngayon, mabuti with CSC. So that's good to hear po. Pwede pong humingi ng kopya ng MOA. Oo, lalo na dahil sabi nyo rin po, ARTA also wants to set up their own regional offices. Salamat po. And then lastly for me at this point, no, one of your performance indicators under the Civil Service Professionalization Subprogram has an outcome indicator stating percentage of appointments acted upon. So for 2022, the target was 60%, with actual at 95.05%, 55% in 2023, with 65% actual, and for 2024, target is 75%. Pwede po bang linawin ng Chair anong ibig sabihin ng phrase na appointment acted upon? At saka ano yung basis sa pag-set ng target? Related ba to sa kapangyarihan ng CSC na i-attest yung mga appointments made? Kasi kung ganun, and I see by the nod of the Chair na ganun na nga, di ba dapat mas mataas yung target considering na kailangan naman talaga ng CSC mag-act upon ng mga appointments na ginawa ng appointing authorities?
Yes, Madam Chair. So, depending sa, well, if it's our regional offices, our field offices are the ones that act on it. So, whenever an appointment is made in the different NGAs, local government units, they have to get attestation from the civil service. So, it's our field offices ang nag-handle po niyan. And we've actually hit our targets naman po in terms of processing time sa aming mga appointments. So we are measured on how fast we act on their appointments by the DBM. So the set target is based on data ng appointments and also the capacity of our field offices. Of course, we want to do better. And that's the reason why in our recently concluded HR symposium, we actually launched through the help of the commissioners, actually special mention si Commissioner Ryan Acosta, that we have launched our pilot on our online appointments processing system, our OAPS. So it's on a pilot study. We're on a pilot. It's on a pilot uh, stage. It's on pilot stage. So sa different regions, we actually identified different pilot areas and field offices. What it will do, Madam Chair, if successful, is that no longer will we see our field officers holding uh, tons and tons of paper. It will be digitalized na. Digitized na yung pag-submit. It will allow us it will allow our field officers to look at digital records. If the system is perfected enough, then it will also speed up the processing. Kasi everything is digitalized na, everything is digitized na. It will allow us to also measure and have more visibility. And dapat sana mas mabilis yung turnaround. And it will also, hopefully if the system is perfect, it would also not accept, anong tinatawag nito? Incomplete submissions. So minsan kasi sa field office, nagkakaroon tayo ng problema sa incomplete submissions, which is actually unfair also to the CSC and our field officers. So much so na sometimes kami yung pinagbibintangan na mabagal kami. Pero if you really look at the records, hindi kami mabagal. It's just na incomplete ang mga papers. So we cannot really act on them if they're incomplete. So hopefully with a perfect system, hindi tatanggapin ng system ang incomplete submissions also. That way, mapinpoint din natin kung sino may kasalanan, kung CSC ba or yung HR officers ba. But it will help in the speeding up of the ano. But regardless of the target, Madam Chair, our range of accomplishment for the last 5 years has been 92% to 97%, despite the numerous appointments that go to our field officers. Ang sa speech nga ni Com Ryan when we launched the pilot, sabi niya, of course, yung mga field officers natin, we truly appreciate them because inevitably, they bring their work home. So documents, boxes and boxes of papers po ang dala nila sa bahay nila just for them to complete the attestation. But we don't want that to continue. We obviously want the work-life balance even with our field officers, even in the CSC. So with the OAPs, hopefully, gone are the days na magdadala sila ng boxes of papers back home for them to work on. So hopefully, if the system is perfect, then mas mabilis ang action, ang response time namin. Mas efficient po tayo at mas mamonitor din po namin on a real-time basis yung action ng aming field offices when it comes to appointments.
Salamat, Chair. Of course, nobody's expecting naman or should reasonably expect a perfect system. But it's good to hear the improvements CSC is working on year. And I can believe na yung sinight nyong performance track record in the past half decade of 92 to 97% because even if the targets the past 3 years, sabi nyo nga based on the data and based on the capacity of the regional offices has been quite modest, di ba? 60%, 55%. Lumalampas naman doon, 95%, 65% respectively. And for this year, you've set a higher target of 75%. And so good about the continuing digitization, especially yun na nga, para hindi mag-uwi ng tone-toneladang mga papel. But I hope even with the launch of that good pilot program na online, syempre essential pa rin yung human element of the assessment of the regional officers of the applicants. Meron pa rin as in face-to-face vis-a-vis online learning, di ba? There's also still something irreplaceable sa yung face-to-face encounter with of course the safeguards built in for undue intervention. But that's the whole mandate itself of the CSC. So, okay. So maraming salamat, Chair. We'll move on now to the CESB para at the end of our discussion on the board's proposed budget, kung wala nang ibang magtatanong, we can deem both budget submitted for plenary deliberation. So pahinga muna kayo, Chair Carlo.
Thank you.
Marami pong salamat. Dagang salamat.
Salamat.
So, magandang umaga rin po kay Executive Director Maria Marcy Cosario Ballesteros at sa mga bumubuo ng Career Executive Service Board, ang ahensyang naatasan na mamahala sa ating Career Executive Service. We'd like to listen to your budget presentation. I hope that Sen JV can catch it, maybe Sen Sonny and our other colleagues, and how the budget can help you fulfill your mandate to continue forming a pool of well-selected and development-oriented career managers who shall provide competent and faithful service to the government. So you have the floor, ED RC.
Thank you po. Honorable Chairperson, Senator Risa Hontiveros, to Senator J. Ejercito and other honorable senators who will be coming in, our esteemed commissioners from the civil service, our esteemed officials, colleagues from the CSC and the CES board, good morning. I'm pleased to present the Career Executive Service Board's budget proposal for fiscal year 2024 in the amount of 94.2 million in accordance with the National Expenditure Program. Our budget proposal is aligned with the Philippine Development Plan of 2023 to 2028, Chapter 14, Practice Good Governance and Improve Bureaucratic Efficiency, Outcome 4, Competent, Motivated, Agile, and Resilient Public Servants Supported, where it states that the CES system will be strengthened through merit and fitness, and that potential and qualified third-level officials will undergo the four-stage CES eligibility process, examination process, the CES Leadership Management and Proficiency Program, or LAMP, and other CES lifelong learning programs for appointment to CS rank to build up a critical mass of CES officers and eligibles. In line with that, our organizational outcome, which is also shown in our CESB budget structure under the PREXI, our outcome, our operations is focused on merit and fitness system for CES officers or CES strengthened and a pool of globally competitive CES sustained, which we seek to achieve through career executive screening and development program with our three major program thrusts, namely CES eligibility process and appointment or promotion to CES rank, the CES performance management and external relations, and CES capacity building. So our budget, Madam Chair, is 94.2 million for 2024. This is lower than our current budget of 99.5 million, but higher than the 2022 actual budget. Next slide. This 94.2 million budget is actually a 6% reduction from our originally proposed 100.5 million budget. The components of our budget proposal, you will see in the pie chart that it consists of 44% personal services, 49.8% MOE, and a very, very small portion of capital outlay. The next slides will show the budget allocation and priorities of the CES board under its major thrust and programs. For the first, we commit the 9.2 million for our major thrust of infusing government with well-selected development-oriented career managers through our eligibility and rank appointment program, wherein we will conduct written examinations, assessment center, validation of performance, and panel interviews with candidates and develop and enhance our assessment center and materials and test instruments. Next slide. We also commit 7.1 million for our professional and career development program to raise the level of managerial competence in the CES and develop a deeper sense of commitment and integrity among our CES officials, which we will do by enhancing our HRD programs for CES officials to make it more responsive and purposive lifelong learning and HR intervention for them. So specifically, we have 6 leadership and management courses. That is the Saldiva and Gabay. And next, we will strengthen the CES accreditation and equivalency system for executive leadership and capacity building. For our next major thrust and program, we commit 7.6 million for our performance management and assistance program by strengthening the CES performance evaluation system or CESPES in all departments and agencies to support productivity and accountability and promote morale and welfare of the CESOs and eligible. So this mainly involves administration of the online CESPES in all government or national government agencies and GOCCs, and the timely processing of CESPES results and providing the reports to their heads of agencies and officials. We will also, under this program, we will also strengthen our GAWAD Presidential Award Program and also the administration of the semi-annual recognition programs like the CES Very Innovative Person and Outstanding Cost-Effective Officers. Under
Edie
this
Marcy,
program-
I'm wondering lang kasi maganda you always highlight lifelong learning. By any chance, have there been dialogues between CESB and the education cluster, DepEd, CHED, TESDA about lifelong learning also for workers in the public sector?
Yeah, actually, ma'am, many of our participants in this lifelong learning come from DepEd, TESDA, and CHED. So in those learning programs, we get to get their feedback. We document their feedback and input that in the improvement of our learning programs and identification of further courses or topics for discussion in future learning programs, madam.
Salamat, Edie. It's good to hear
Yes.
that kasi maganda kung may ganyang dialogue
Yes.
among different parts of government na
Yeah.
invested in education and formation. Lalo na over the past several years, gusto nating i-develop yung
Yes.
further develop
Develop.
yung professional bureaucracy
Yes.
ng gobyerno.
Yes, Madam
Salamat.
Chair. As also we are also there is also a stipulation in the PDP that the CESB will upgrade its program. So definitely we will conduct stakeholders consultations in order to further improve our current learning, lifelong learning programs, Madam.
Salamat, Edie. Please proceed.
So our next program is actually these are support to operations, like the policy planning and legal unit. We have a budget of 1.7 million, which specifically for the formulation of responsive policies to strengthen the CES and the dissemination of these policies to all government agencies and sustaining our ISO's accreditation processes. Another one is our 5.3 million for the management information system, which seeks to maintain and enhance our online services such as the performance management, the learning management system, and also developing mobile applications for our executive 201 profiling and online plantilla management. And
Edie,
then-
napansin ko rin ulit kanina yung publication nyo ng The Public Manager. Pinapublish nyo rin po ba yan in different Philippine languages para in different regions, accessible, in the different NGA local offices, pati mga LGUs?
Sa ngayon po, Madam Chair, nasa English pa po siya. Pero that's a very good. We'll take note of that suggestion po. In the succeeding publications, we will attempt to do it in the vernacular. Thank you po.
Pa-explore na lang po, and
Yes po.
even if they're not in, is it in paper form or
We have
online?
online and also printed form, which we disseminate to all government agencies and officials.
Maganda po, at least the online version, konting dagdag na
Na-
gastos na lang para
Yes
masalin
po.
or masulat
Yes po.
originally in the language of the region.
Yes.
Kasi I'm sure marami tayong mga kababayan na interesado
Naman.
and mas masusuportahan sila, mas may inspire if in our own mother languages.
Yes
Salamat
po.
Edie.
We'll take note of that. Good suggestion po. So ma'am, then the next is it's about 18.7 million for our general administration services, which is the usual for our operate to support our operations. So our capital outlay is very minimal for this year, which is 124,000.
Saka napansin ko rin, Edie, sa inyo at saka sa CSC, hindi umaabot ng billion yung janitorial services, no?
Maliit lang po kami.
Maliit lang
Na
siguro
opisina.
naman. Opo.
Sige. Salamat po, Madam Chair. So our performance report for 2022, as I have discussed previously, our outcome indicator of percentage of CES positions occupied in the CESOs by CESOs and eligibles from a target of 50, right now, 2022, usually the transition period, 45%. But all our output indicators are all on track, on target with regard to processing or recommending qualified commendable officials for a rank appointment within 1 month from submission of complete requirements, and percentage of officials with complete ratings processed within 30 days after the closing of the online submission of CESPES for all government agencies, and percentage of participants rating the training programs conducted at least very satisfactory. These outcome
Edie,
indicator
sorry.
depends.
Natanong ko na ba previously bakit 45% lang yung unang outcome indicator?
Yes po.
44%?
Opo, natanong na po
Nung briefing
previous.
natin.
Opo.
Alright,
So
thank you.
that's end of 2020, that's the transition period. But we are making progress, Madam. For 2023 first semester, we have actually from on the part of the CES board, Secretariat, CES board, the governing board, has recommended 202 officials to the Office of the President for rank appointment. So with the representation of our Chair, Carlo Nograles, the Office of the President has already released 86 rank appointments approved by the President as of yesterday. So I think it's
Congratulations.
like
86 out of
202. So actually, there are some recommendees who have nearing retirement. So we have been informed that they cannot no longer approve it because we have a policy of within 6 months from retirement. But we had the remaining 159, and I think they are actively processing it now. We have already complied with the additional requirements that they have asked the CESB Secretariat.
congratulations and good luck with the balance.
Okay po. The rest of the slides are just details, so I'll skip those slides on the individual activities. I'll just report on the status of budget utilization. From 2018 to 2022, our budget utilization rate has been like in the pandemic, from 79%, we rose to 82% in 2021 and then achieved 93% in year 2022. And then for our fund utilization, for the end of December 2022, we hit 93% of our authorized budget. And for the first semester, we achieved 42% budget utilization from our authorized budget. I think that's all, Madam Chair. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Edie Marcy. So the chair has no additional questions for CASB from our briefing. And if there are no other colleagues, no other senators who will ask questions here at the committee level, therefore the budgets of the Civil Service Commission and of the Career Executive Service Board are deemed submitted to plenary. Maraming salamat po and see you there.
Thank you so
Madam
much.
Chair.
at sa mga lahat ng bumubuo pa ng Anti-Red Tape Authority. And the chair would like to gratefully acknowledge the presence of Senator J.V. Ejercito. The senator and I would like to listen to your budget presentation and how it can help you fulfill your mandate to monitor and ensure compliance with the national policy on anti-red tape and the ease of doing business in the country. So you have the floor, Secretary Perez, after which Senator JB will take first crack at asking questions of the authority's budget. I have the floor, sir.
Morning, Senator Riza, Senator JV. Magandang umaga po sa ating lahat. I have this privilege of presenting to you the ARTA's budget for deliberation for the year 2024. We thank our senators for this opportunity, our primary sponsor, Senator Riza and Taveros, for the opportunity for ARTA to present the ARTA's programs and initiatives for 2024. I will go straight to the point that the mandate of ARTA is two-pronged, which is the empowerment and the enforcement side. Under the empowerment, we streamline, re-engineer, improve regulatory management system and capacitate stakeholders in the process. We cover all national government agencies, including local government units, government-owned and controlled corporations, state universities, state hospitals, and water districts. The other side of ARTA is in the enforcement side, conduct investigations, case build-up, entrapment operations on filing cases, either with the Civil Service Commission or with the Office of the Ombudsman. We have this task of implementing the law, complemented by 9 offices with its central office located in Quezon City with 8 regional offices. Currently, ARTA has 285 personnel, filling out 197 out of the 221 plantilla positions in its DBM-provided staffing pattern, about 90% of the plantilla positions, and 88 contract service workers. Of course, we follow the directive of the President to streamline and digitalize processes in fighting red tape and corruption in the process. As we embrace this challenge, we redefine how government interacts with its citizens. This is recognized no less by the President when he said in his message during our 5th anniversary that it is possible to do things now to empower the improvement of processes and make transactions easier and more convenient to the public. Under the 8-point socioeconomic agenda of the President's administration, created to encapsulate an inclusive and sustainable growth for the Philippines, it specifies the need to improve bureaucratic efficiency. And this can be done by streamlining and digitalization of processes. With an allocation of 15.6 billion from the national budget to digitalize government processes and operations under Agenda Number 7 to facilitate the transformation and digitalization of the whole of government, and with the vision of streamlining the bureaucracy in accordance with the Marcos administration's thrust for lean, efficient, and responsive government workforce. This empowers the country's systems to reorganize their processes and maximize our institutions, services, and productivity. Now, to effectively implement the Marcos administration's agenda, the Anti-Red Tape Authority, Anti-Red Tape and Ease of Doing Business framework guides the Anti-Red Tape Authority in attaining the objectives which, in a bigger picture, Madam Senator, contributes to the overall goal of the current administration. The framework, shown on the screen, outlines the socio-economic objectives and plans that will serve as our guidepost, followed by ARTA's vision and mission. Topmost of the Anti-Red Tape and Ease of Doing Business framework is our overall socio-economic objective. will not go to the details anymore. The eight-point socioeconomic agenda created to encapsulate an inclusive and sustainable growth for the Philippines specified the needs to improve the country's bureaucratic efficiency. I'll just go next, move to the next. No. We have a 6-year roadmap, Madam Senator, Senator JV. In implementing its initiatives, ARTA is guided by the principles of team dynamics in its whole of government implementation of programs in initiatives. Since 2018, ARTA has been in the forming stage with a focus on establishing the foundational structure and resources necessary for the implementation of the ease of doing business. By 2024, we anticipate the transition to the storming stage where the focus will now shift towards addressing resistance and challenges from agencies and stakeholders. The task at that point will be able to manage conflicts, facilitate discussions, and advocate for necessary changes. From 2025 to 2027, ARTA hopes for improved cooperation and alignment as issues across agencies are resolved. This stage will involve monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of reforms, measuring their impact, and making necessary adjustments for sustained success. By 2027 to 2028, ARTA believes that ease of doing business initiatives will be fully operational, requiring minimal involvement from the authority. It is also expected that a culture of continuous improvement will be observed across agencies. Now, given our limited manpower and resources, we have prioritized our programs and initiatives and through these sectors: telecommunications, energy, logistics, socialized housing, health, food and pharma, and infrastructure. Now, recently, the President signed Executive Order number 32 last July 4, 2023, known as the streamlining the permitting process for the construction of telecommunications and internet infrastructure. This was preceded by a joint memorandum circular among the ARTA, the DILG, DICT, and all other government like the DOF, which resulted in the streamlining of processes and increase in the number of permits issued. However, this was anchored on the emergency law passed by Congress, the Bayanihan to Recover as One Act, which expired on September 14, 2023. Fortunately, the President extended the effectivity of this JMC by way of that Executive Order number 32, which even expanded its coverage to include the operationalization or energization of the towers. Now, as a result of the JMC that I mentioned, it resulted in an overall increase in the number of permits issued before the JMC from 9,363 to 36,264. That's an increase of about 26,000 permits issued. We anticipate that with the issuance by the President of Executive Order 32, this increase in the number of permits will even be substantially improved. Now, as a result of that JMC, we experienced an improvement in our internet speed. The UCLA Speed Test Global Index released last April 2023, the median download speed of the Philippines for mobile is at 25.27 from 19 Mbps before the JMC, and for the fixed broadband, this is at 92.09 Mbps. That's an improvement from 52 Mbps before the JMC. Executive Order 41 also, through the initiative or through the recommendation by the Department of Trade and Industry, the President signed Executive Order number 41, reminding or prohibiting LGUs from imposing the illegal pass-through fees. Before this Executive Order number 41, ARTA, together with the DILG and the Department of Finance, had a joint memorandum circular reminding or uh, prohibiting LGUs from imposing illegal pass-through fees because this adds additional burden to our delivery trucks, container trucks, logistics companies, which eventually are being passed on to our consumers. Now, with the signing by the President of Executive Order number 41, this will now makes permanent that prohibition. And under that Executive Order 41, the ILG, together with the Department of Trade and Industry and the ARTA, is tasked to submit an inventory of ordinances passed by local government units that requires these prohibited pass-through fees, and after due evaluation, will file appropriate charges for against LGUs in violation of this executive order. On the energy sector, for investments, energy, and infrastructure projects, we are now working closely with relevant government agencies. With the DTI, Board of Investments, ARTA, will be implementing Executive Order 18, which establishes the green lane for investments. With the Department of Energy, ARTA is also working closely on enhancing the energy virtual one-stop shop. Additionally, ARTA is also developing a model ordinance that will be adopted by LGUs or proposed to be LGUs to the LGUs for adoption to simplify the requirements and optimize the benefits of hosting energy projects. With NEDA, the ILG, and the ICT, ARTA has also presented to the President a draft executive order for the streamlining and monitoring of permits, licenses, authorization, and clearance for infrastructure flagship projects. The goal is to reduce logistics costs by removing, that's on pass-through fees, and we also have this very successful program implementing the requirement of the Ease of Doing Business law for all local government units to set up and operationalize an electronic business one-stop shop. This is being done in close collaboration with the DILG and the ICT. This is a requirement for all LGUs to set up and operationalize an electronic business one-stop shop under Republic Act 11032. This is a full online process of accepting application, processing, payment of fees, and even the printing of permits and fees. And for those LGUs that have complied with this requirement, to date, 518 out of 164 LGUs have reported automation in their business one-stop shop, although through validation by our Compliance Monitoring and Evaluation Office, only 8 from the LGUs in Metro Manila have set up one, and 4 from outside Metro Manila. The good thing about this system is that this resulted in substantial increase in business registration and revenue collection, because as has been shown by evidence alone by the DILG, by 1 year implementation of this requirement, this resulted in an increase in revenue collection by 19 billion pesos. As shown in the slide, this is a breakdown of those fully compliant LGUs. For instance, in Navotas, Valenzuela, to get your new the approval for new business permit will take only 30 minutes and 20 minutes respectively for Valenzuela and Navotas City, and for renewal 30 minutes. Latest report to us by Quezon City, also for renewal just 5 minutes, and for new application 20 minutes. This also resulted in substantial increase in revenue collection. The simple explanation for this is that LGUs that issue electronic business permit is QR code readable. So it's easy for one to find out whether the business has been issued a valid or fake business permit, because by the use of your cell phone, scanning it, you will immediately know whether the business permit is legit or not, because this is QR code readable. That's why businessmen, knowing that they will be caught if they will be operating illegally, they voluntarily register their business and pay the right amount of taxes to the LGUs. Other programs and initiatives of ARTA is the Central Business Portal, which we now call the Philippine Business Hub. Before, to register your business or to get your certificate of registration from the SEC would require at least a month. Now, with the use of this system, at the most 3 working days, if you're a corporation with the SEC. If you're a sole proprietorship with the DTI, maximum 3 working days. Also, at the same time, you can register your business with the BIR, SSS, PhilHealth, and Pag-ibig using this platform. The Philippine Business Regulations Information System is also a digital system developed by ARTA with the technical assistance of the U.S. Agency for International Development that practically no financial cost to the government. We have gone through the user acceptance testing, and by next one, we should be able to launch it. This is a program that will capacitate all covered agencies to upload the regulations they implement. This has the functionality of determining whether a particular regulation has been subjected to proper public consultation or regulatory impact assessment to ensure that that regulation does not cause undue regulatory burden or cost, not only to the agent but also to the transacting public. It will also enable the determination of whether regulations are overlapping or there are over regulations to a particular sector of business. The one very important feature of the ease of doing business law is the requirement for all covered agencies to submit an updated citizen charter. The citizen charter is a document required for all covered agents to publish in their most conspicuous place of their offices all the services that they render to the public, the requirements, the documentary requirement, the fees and charges, the standard processing time of 3720, so that no agency can issue or requires a document or fee on top of what is published in the Citizen Charter. Now, to capacitate the Anti-Retif Authority to monitor the compliances of these agencies, we have developed the Anti-Retif Electronic Management Information System, or the RTMIS, that will capacitate all covered agents to upload their citizen charter, and anyone, whether from the government or from private, will have access, because anyone who is dealing with any government agency must first look into the citizen charter of that agency. So it will guide them as to the processes, the requirements, the fees and charges, and that also the standard processing time of 3720, subject to automatic approval if the agency does not act on it within the standard processing time. As of August 31, the compliance rate of agencies in the on the citizen charter requirement is at 94.72%. Substantially, because they know that if they fail to submit an updated citizen charter, they are disqualified from the performance-based bonus. We also developed a system we pilot tested last year, which we call the Report Card Survey 2.0. Because once you have availed of services in a government office, we encourage them to provide feedback on how the service was delivered. This report card survey is a tool that assesses the performance of government agencies through a harmonized and standardized framework in measuring client satisfaction across all levels of government. Last year, we pilot tested this to 50 select government agencies. This year, we are expanding it to more than 800 government agencies. We also signed a memorandum of agreement with the 888 Citizens Complaint Center last February 21, 2023, which will now give more teeth, no, for the law to be implemented. Because before the signing of the memorandum of agreement, once the 888 receives a complaint or concerns and refers this to agency, the agency is given 3 days to respond. If the agency does not respond, then nothing happens after that. That with the MOA signing, the 888 or the Citizens Complaint Center will now refer a complaint with the Office of the President acting as a complainant, and ARTA will investigate and file charges if necessary, either with the Office of the Ombudsman or Civil Service Commission, depending on the nature of the case. Our resolution rate, the legal department, is at 98.75%. Out of the 16,099 complaints referred to us, 15,898 were already resolved. I will now. For our accomplishment as of June 30, number of agencies compliant to the Citizen Charter, we went beyond the target. Percentage of complaint referred to resolved within turnaround time is at 98.83%. Stakeholder engagement rating is at 88.58%. The slide contains the status of ARTA's GAA performance for its GAA indicator based on the
Sir,
latest
Kung pwedeng,
quarter.
kung pwedeng umatras lang to the previous slide,
yes.
bakit po not applicable yung Philippine overall ranking in the World Bank IFC's doing business report?
Because the World Bank, Madam Senator, suspended the annual doing business survey last October 2021 because of data irregularities. But they renewed it under a different survey method. They call it the Be Ready, Business Enabling Environment. Before, they used to do survey on 10 indicators with Quezon City as the model. But because of that data irregular, not in the Philippines, but in other country, they suspended it. And now this year, they have renewed it under a different system. We are not informed yet as to the details. But even with that discontinuation, the Anti-Retif Authority will continue with the initiative by way of that Philippines Ease of Doing Business reporting system. And this will be using the modality, the process being observed by the World Bank before, because this really will enable us to monitor our performances in the various of the 10 indicators that used to be implemented during in the years that the World Bank was undertaking it.
And then possibly po next year, dahil nagpapatuloy din naman yung EODB monitoring system, maybe may makikita na tayong Philippine overall ranking in the Be Ready system or
Yes.
ano man. Okay, salamat, Secretary. Please proceed.
For our 2024 NEP level targets, for this outcome indicator, government is projected based on 5% increase from the 2022 actual accomplishments of 9,332 agencies. Based on the revalidation and of the covered agencies or offices conducted by ARTA this year, the universe of monitored agencies shall be increased from 10,173 to 11,268 to account for the newly established agencies and hospitals, other branches, offices of the national government, agencies and campuses of the state universities and colleges. Dito po sa footnote namin that the doing business report was already discontinued. This was already taken up.
Sec, yung
Yes.
pong number of agencies trained in RIA,
Okay.
bakit from 55 this year to target 40 for next year?
Um, okay. Because of the decrease of target for RIA training from 55 agencies on fiscal year 2020 to 40 on fiscal year 2024 is due to the reduced budget for our PAP2. For fiscal year 2023, the training budget is 7 million pesos with 55 target agencies for RIA training. However, for fiscal year 2024, under the NEP level target for RIA training is only 4.5 million, which can only train up to 30 agencies. At lastly, based on the, ayan, yun po yung explanation because of the reduced budget.
Salamat, Secretary. Siguro pa-refresh na lang ng memory ng Chair later pagdating dun sa areas for possible addition kung covered po dyan itong item na to. Salamat,
Yes.
Sec.
Madam Chair.
Yes, sir. And just at this point po, well, it's good that ARTA has resolved 98.75% of the 16,099 complaints and concerns that it received as of August 31, 2023. At if you scan these complaints, ano po yung sasabihin yung nature ng top 3 complaints? Anong ibig pong sabihin ng resolved or referred? Tapos once referred, sino pong magpa-follow up?
Usually po, most of the cases referred to us are issues of delays in the processing of permit or action. Now, also, even if it is not specifically covered by our mandate, we refer it to the concerned government agency if the complaint is not red tape related. Also, once the complaints had been resolved at our level, usually complainants would no longer pursue this by filing pursuing the case with either with the Office of the Ombudsman or the Civil Service Commission.
Salamat, Sec. Please proceed.
Our comparative analysis, no, a significant decrease on the appropriations amounting to 46,092,000 or 13.71% from the fiscal year 2023 General Appropriations Act. For our budget utilization, if I may proceed, Madam President.
Yes, please proceed, Sec.
Budget utilization rate is at 79.0%, but our disbursement is high at 94.47%. This utilization rate at 79% can be explained, Madam President, Madam Senator, due to the, of course, in the suspension of our Director General in June, as OIC was not able to implement programs because this required budget utilization. So I was appointed only as Director General in November of 2022. There was also a transitory period for the new administration. Of course, I've already mentioned limited powers of the OIC from June 2022 to November 11, 2022 when I was appointed Director General. Also, this discontinuation of the Go Smart App project of about 20 million pesos because the ICT took over this, and because we believe that this really belongs to the mandate of the ICT, and the ICT willingly accepted.
Okay yung pag-aantay-red tape nyo, Secretary, pati vis-a-vis the ARTA itself.
Thank you, Madam. Um, we shall now go to the 2024 total budget proposal. Just to summarize, Madam Senator, for Tier 1, under GMS or General Management and Supervision at 97.841 million pesos. For PAP2 to monitor on monitoring and evaluation compliance to RA 11032 at 50.9. PAP2 to institutionalize our RMS and EODB reforms at 32.9. PAP3 legal services at 34.051, or a total of 215,753,000. We have zero budget allocation for capital outlay. For Tier 2, for PS, total is at 215,753 million. For MOE at 335,265,000 pesos. For capital outlay, 44,730,000, or a total of 605,843,000. Online submission of budget proposal for 2024, total is for Tier 1 and Tier 2 is at 821,596,000 pesos. However, under the 2024 National Expenditure Program, ARTA was given only the following. For PS, both from GMS to PAP1 to PAP3, 134,173,000. For MOE, 147,872,000 pesos. Zero capital outlay for PAP1 to PAP2 and PAP3. Under this NEP level program granted to us, it will be impossible for us to operate our 8 regional offices. So we're requesting for augmentation. I think these are our recommendations, Madam President. The ARTA is exploring potential measures to reinforce the implementation of the ease of doing business and efficient government service delivery law with the aim to boost the delivery of ARTA's programs and initiatives. To achieve this, we kindly request the continued support of the DBM by endorsing the following recommendations. One is the endorsement and approval of ARTA's request for congressional initiative amounting to 200 million pesos. These are the breakdown. Operationalization of the public sector innovation hub under PAP2 for 9 million pesos. Development of the electronic complaints management system for 4,020,000. To strengthen the internal and external legal services and public assistance mechanism for 10,050,000. Confidential expenses for surveillance, and because we have law enforcement power. In fact, this morning we were successful in the conduct of our entrapment operation against LTO in Marikina. We were able to catch a fixer. Despite the discontinuation of the confidential fund, we were able to do it, but minimally only. But hopefully, if this can be reinstated, we can conduct more entrapment operations.
Sec, very timely po yung ulit nyo nung usaping iyan kasi nga at least two other civilian agencies, DFA and the Ombudsman, have indicated that they have no need for confidential and intel funds. Kaya tatanong ko rin talaga sana ano yung stand ng ARTA sa isyung ito, kung mayroon ba at kailangan ba ng confi funds ang ARTA. Naalala ko kasi gusto niyang itanong yung CIF, 10 million if I remember correctly, nung briefing natin. So, at yun na nga, nabanggit ko yung Office of the Ombudsman sa isang newly released press statement nila. Sinabi ni Ombudsman Martires, or sumulat sila to both houses of Congress, dito sa amin, pati sa House, na bigyan na lang daw yung opisina nila ng 1 million pesos Confi and Intel funds. So, malaking baba mula dun sa original na 50 million nila. So, anything else you want to add on Arta's mind on this issue?
Thank you, Madam Senator. Last year, we were given a confidential fund of 10 million pesos. We were not able to fully utilize it because of the disruption in the appointment process. We returned about 2 million pesos, but we'd like to assure the body that these are all fully accounted for. The difficulty in operating without a confidential fund is that we're limited in terms of our surveillance operations, renting of safe houses for witnesses, and the use of the in the conduct actually of entrapment operations. We are too dependent. Of course, the law enforcement agencies are willing to support us, the NBI, the PNP, CIDG, but without the confidential fund, our actions are limited. We believe that the Anti-Red Tape Authority, as having a law enforcement function, requires confidential fund for investigation, surveillance operation, and entrapment operations against fixers or fixing activities. This activity is being done in collaboration with the PNP, CIDG, and the NBI. But we submit to the kind discretion of the body if this confidential fund will be reinstated or not. But we will be grateful if somehow we will be given some amount depending on the availability of the budget to help us as a law enforcement agency conduct more surveillance and entrapment operations against fixers.
Ano po yung sum amount na yon, Sec, that the authority has in mind?
10 million pesos, Madam Senator.
Thank you, Sec.
So we encourage really the public to report to us any complaint or issue to reduce or eliminate red tape in the process. It requires a two-way process. But sometimes, if you have that opportunity to catch a big fish, high-ranking official, the complainant hesitates to come out in the open because they fear that the official will retaliate. We're telling them, we're assuring them that you have our full support. We will assist them. All they have to do is to inform us of the details. We can also conduct investigation motu proprio without disclosing the identity, but we need the details. But there is still this hesitation on the part of the complainant. Nonetheless, we encourage them to call our hotline 12782 or the 8888 through the Citizens Complaint Center or email us at complaints@arta.gov.ph. Thank you, Madam Senator.
Salamat, Secretary. So we'll open the floor now to the questions. First off from Sen. JV Ejercito. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd like to congratulate ARTA, that you have 98%, no, yung inyong resolution of cases, only 2% doon sa inyong statistics. In fact, to be exact, 98.83% yung actual accomplishment. Siyempre nakakatuwa yun, no? But Madam Chair, this may be parochial in nature. Nag-usap din kami kanina on the sideline si Attorney Perez. But dun sa 1.2% na unresolved, this pertains to the complaint that 3 official complaints that were filed by municipal employees, no, that were not given their terminal leaves after their separation or retirement from service in 2019. Tanong ko lang, Attorney Perez, when did you assume as Secretary or Director General?
On November 14, 2022.
Itong ano lang, no? Just
Lisa.
after the election.
Yes, sir.
So, medyo bago pa ho kayo, no? Anyway, the reason, Madam Chair, that I take this up, although this might be parochial in nature, but, you know, there's a saying that those who have less should have more in law. And these people, from what I understand, terminal leave po ako lawyer, pero terminal leave, when you say terminal leave, these are these are benefits and they earned it through years of service. Pera po nila yan, di ba? Kaya nga mo terminal leave, binibigay po yan after retirement. The sad part, Madam Chair, is they retired 2019 and after almost 4 years, yung iba sa kanila hindi pa ho nakukuha until now. No? That's about total of 30 employees. Back then, buti na lang nung nag-privilege speech ako nung February, if you remember, gumalaw yung iba. But now at present, there's still 11 that have not yet received money that is due or that is theirs because that's their terminal. Pinaghirapan po nila yon. And I don't think anybody has the right really to withhold those because they earned it through the years. So, ang ano ko lang, does a simple case like this, the good Director General can answer, ibang ARTA nga, andan dyan, ba anti-red tape, dapat you should resolve everything or process everything right away. No? But such a simple case like this, why did it take more than 3.5 years for ARTA to resolve? As you mentioned, resolve na yung isa. Pero I would like to go back there. Tatlo po yun eh. So yung isa was may resolution September of 2023. But Madam Chair, I wrote a letter March 7, nandito po, March 7, 2023. Kayo na po nakaupo nun, no? Attorney Perez. March 7, 2023, pero parang hindi po napansin. No? Wala ho kayong reply or any sagot man lang. March 7. Then after 3.5 months, June of 2023, I wrote a follow-up. After 2.5 months, again to Attorney Perez, follow-up on my letter requesting information on the status of the aforementioned subject, yung po sa kaso ni Miss Immaculada Mauricio. Andito po yung ARTA complaint ticket number for alleged violation section 21 RA 11032. The resolution was September 4, 2023. So it took 6 months. Ang tanong ko lang, Madam Chair, if ARTA can treat a Senator of the Republic in this way, hindi nyo ako sinagot, no? Then should it be surprising that they treat other ordinary citizens the same way or worse? Paano kung ordinary lang? Director General, may kaso. Baka hindi nyo lang pinansin. Kung ako nga, senador na. Hindi naman para sa akin to, para doon sa pinaglalaban nating mga hindi binibigay terminal leave. Sinagot nyo. Hindi nyo nga sinagot eh. Actually, nagka-resolution 6 months after. So how can an ordinary citizens expect that, ARTA would listen to their complaints?
Before the Secretary addresses the questions of the Senator, the Chair would just like to express her appreciation for the value of the questions being raised. Hindi po ito parokyal na issue, hindi po ito simple lamang. They're actually pwede nating sabing transcendentally important kasi services rendered dito ng mga kababayan natin. And then, it's taken more than a decade already, or rather 11, no? 11 pa ang naghihintay ng tamang resolution ng kanilang appeal out of the original 30. And would the good secretary also please address the issue raised by our deputy majority leader, bakit hindi nakapagsagot ang opisina nyo for more than half a year sa dalawang sulat na isinulat nila sa inyo? So please proceed, Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Senator JV. First, I sincerely apologize for the inadvertence delay. I assure the good senator that it was not intentional because my directive to our lawyers is always to act with dispatch on any question or query, especially a case filed by a senator or a public official. I totally agree with you that any citizen, regardless of position or status in life, is entitled to speedy justice. I assure you, Senator, that this did not reach me until I got a copy of your letter. And immediately after that, I instructed the lawyer to respond immediately to justify the reason for the delay. There were only two cases referred to us. One is the Mauricio case that was already resolved, holding liable the city administrator. The other case, the Dungon case, there was an admission that there was also a pending case with the Civil Service Commission. So we defer due to the admission by evidence that there is a similar case filed with the Civil Service Commission. That's why the Dungon case was dismissed on the basis of a pending case or of a similar complaint with the Civil Service Commission. That's one. So the Mauricio case was filed against the city administrator because of the evidence. Because when we investigate, we really consider evidence. No? Up to the level, there was evidence to show that up to the level of the city administrator, he was responsible for the delay. There was also evidence that the mayor already signed, accepted the letter of resignation. That's why the separation pay or the terminal pay should have already been released. But at the level of the city administrator, he did not do it. So there was a delay on this part. That's why a case was filed against him.
Let me just cut you short.
Yes,
no?
sir.
Hindi, parang medyo ironic lang, Director General, because after 3.5 years, no? Anyway, assume just last year, kaya nga inaano namin, I was also giving you that time also.
Yes.
Kumbaga, inabutan nyo na lang to. But still, it's still ironic and inconsistent to the mandate of ARTA. And these are, di bali na yung mga businesses, but these are people who are expecting this and they worked hard for it. Di ba? Yun lang sa akin, Madam Chair, as I, again, ang akala natin, those who have less in life should have more in law, wala na sila lalapitan. It took 3.5 years before ARTA was able to resolve this case. Bakit? Kasi, bakit ba? Dahil ba mga empleyado lang ito ng munisipyo, ng city, ang kalaban, mayor. O again, tama, yung city administrator was found liable, so why was he the only one liable? Una-una, the counter affidavits given by the LGU San Juan, both the city administrator and the city mayor admitted to the inaction as both their decision. In fact, the city mayor signed the counter affidavit as did the city administrator. So, second, wasn't the complaint against LGU San Juan, and in such case, shouldn't the head of agency should be the one liable for the offense? The resolution assumes that since the city administrator did not sign and endorse the clearance and the terminal application to the city mayor, then the city mayor must be obvious to this. However, the city mayor had been defending their inaction in the counter affidavits, clearly showing that he was aware of this and in fact was part of the inaction. This makes me wonder, Madam Chair, if all of ARTA's resolutions are like this, forcibly extricating the head of agencies, especially LGUs, from violations. Has ARTA ever found any head of agencies, especially LGUs liable for violations? Kasi it's obvious, I don't wanna say that, but it's obviously political because these people are identified to have worked with the previous administrations, my mother and myself. But still, they work for someone. And para sa akin, pera po nila yun eh. Di ba? They cannot, I don't think there's anybody has the right to withhold that money. Terminally po yun. Pasensya na po, I have to take this, no? Sinabi ko po kanina, yung aking personal na sama ng loob, hindi niyo po pinansin yung letter ko. Senador po ako, hindi po dahil doon. But how much more ordinary citizens would write? Baka hindi niyo na po pansinin lalo. So yun po, why was it that only the administrator found liable when it was, in fact, the mayor admitted to all that it was both their indecision and yung mga counter affidavits he was answering.
Secretary, please.
First, again, please accept our sincere apologies, Senator JV. Unfortunately, out of our almost 99% resolution rate, the case you filed,
1.2%.
no explanation, no excuses, except that we will do much better next time. And this is a good lesson learned for us. I assure Madam Chair and Senator JB that this will not happen again. I also assure the good senator that this is the first time that this has happened to us. No? It was an clear case of inadvertence. There was no intention at all to disregard the letter of the good senator. Because I, in the first place, would not.
Director General, hindi lang po yung dahil sa akin lang eh. It's because sabi ko nga, Madam Chair, kung ako nga senador na, eh hindi pa napansin how much more ordinary citizen. That's my complaint. That's my concern. It's actually, syempre nakasama rin ng law, pero much more other complainants. Sino pupuntahan po nila? Yung talagang na, ano na, kumbaga eh, wala nang tatakbuhan. Diba? And these are people, again, Director General, I'm hoping, si Miss Ada Mauricio is just the one leading it, but there's still, she was leading about 30 others, no, at the time, and now 11 more, Madam Chair, have not received their terminal leave 4 years, almost 4 years after they retired. Para sa kanila po, laking bagay po yun, di ba? Pinaghirapan ng ilang taon, 30, 40, 20 years sila nag-in service, then they cannot get, and it's sad, the sad part is that government agencies that are supposed to be their last resort should have been supported of them. I mean, sila na nga po yung naagrabyado eh, di ba? Di ba? Napakahirap in our society, Madam Chair, local officials just get away with everything just because they have the money and they're in power, in position against these people. No, this may be parochial, but I think this has to be resolved as well. And dapat magkaroon din ng anong ating agencies, especially ARTA, that again, reminder that, those who are blessed should have more in law. Tama, kayo mga abogado, alam niyo yan dapat di ba? So, I don't know, but I'm hoping that this has to be, nakakapagtaka lang dito, na-absuelt yung mayor, kinlear ka agad, isa siya sa mga talagang active na sumasagot and even admitted to yung inaction was their decision. And he is the head of agency.
Sec, and colleagues, again, gusto kong i-affirm no, na these issues being raised by Sen JV are not parochial at all. Oo, they can
Yes,
happen,
Madam
and
Chair,
they
it can
do
happen everywhere.
Yes.
Especially in cases, Madam Chair, that there are changes in administrations of LGUs. Nakakalungkot talagang nagiging biktima sila ng vindictiveness But, politics has to remain with the politicians. Let us not include workers in government. Nagkataon lang na they work under one administration. I'm hoping that you would take this into action and reconsider, no, na talagang providing the appropriate charges to those really in responsible. Dito Madam Chair, si Mayor na nga in action was their decision. Bakit siya na-resolve, di ba? So, yun, Madam Chair, I'd like to thank you also for the support that this may happen Tama kayo, Madam Chair. This can happen everywhere in other LGUs as well.
Therefore, Secretary, gusto nyo bang further i-address yung issue na ni-raise ni Sen JV? Well, one of these is, I think, is may anticipation ba ang ARTA the possible, ano yung prospects for the just resolution of the case of the remaining 11? Tapos, if ARTA has been able to or is institutionally able to pronounce on cases that may involve even the local chief executives in the fulfillment ng mandate nyo na anti-red tape, whatever or whoever are involved.
First thing that I did when I was appointed Director General was to require our legal department to submit to me an inventory of cases. Unfortunately, the case referred by the good senator was not brought to my attention.
Well,
Yes,
Madam Chair, accept your apology. Pwedeng hindi nakarating po talaga sa inyo. But since, of course, in any, just like in any budget, that budget hearings, we always ask for additional. But we also want to see how it's spent and yung dapat proactive din po tayo, no? Na dapat nga maging proactive tayo na ang ARTA because you have the motu proprio power to investigate violations of ARTA law. Di ba? Dapat magkusa na po kayo. Bawa, si Miss A, yung kaso ni Ada. Pag isa po siya nag-complaint, dapat po you should have investigate also the other plight of the employees, di ba? So, para naman kami, as your legislators, gaganahan mo kaming dagdagan, if supplement, augment your budget, as long as we see, Madam Chair, that they are really proactive and nakikita natin na, they are really sticking to their mandate in for which the agencies were created. Pwede po yan? Maging mas proactive tayo.
yes, sir. Senator JV. In fact, we're developing this system, the electronic complaint system, that will capacitate us to monitor the status of cases through the use of the digital platform. And hopefully, with the budget given to us by Congress, we should be able to implement that complaints monitoring system. And concern raised to us by the good senator will never, ever be happening again.
Well,
That
that's
is-
good to hear. I'm hoping, Madam Chair, that lessons learned, I hope
Yes.
that this does not happen anymore. Again, just to be clear, hindi po dahil political adversary ko po yung concern, but I'm just taking up the cudgels, the fight of these city employees who observe our LGU. Ayan, ang mayor pa ako noon, 20 years ago. Some of them are 25 years, Madam Chair, 30 years in service, 20, 15 years. Tapos, napakalaking bagay sa kanila ng terminal leave. They look forward to it, pan-retirement nila yun. And then, hindi na makukuha. Tapos, pupunta civil service, pupunta sa ARTA, as their last resort, wala silang mapuntahan. Diba? Kailangan pakita rin natin na people who have less in life, na meron silang pag-asa na pupunta, hindi dahil kalaban nila isang malaking posisyon, literally, figuratively. Diba? Nasa posisyon, nasa impluensya, walang mangyayari. Ganun ang Madam Chair Minsan yun ang naiisip ng mga tao, naku, paano natin kalabanan? Mayor yan, impluensya, nasa posisyon.
Sen JV Chair, hindi na nga po ba makukuha nung ng huling 11 yung kanilang terminal pay? Ganun na
Dapat po
ba?
makuha nila, Madam Senator, kasi may finding na delay nga. So they should be getting it already. And with the filing of the case against the city, for those other who did not file a case yet, this should be already a signal for the administration to release or to process the terminal leave or the separation benefits of those other employees who have not filed complaints either with the Civil Service Commission or with the Anti-Red Tape Authority.
Salamat, Sec. And then, as part of the lessons learned mentioned by Sen JV, and para patuloy na i-formalize yung support ng committee for the issues he has raised, pwede po bang hingin sa authority yung written submission of the circumstances surrounding the delay nung action ng ARTA on this case?
Yes, Madam Senator, we will.
Salamat, Secretary.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for this. No? Again, thank you also to the lecturer for answering. No, and I'm hoping for the appropriate action from the from ARTA this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Sen JV.
Thank you po.
Ipatuloy na imo-monitor ito nung subcommittee and hopefully even before plenary may one or a few steps forward in resolving this on behalf of yung 11 former public sector employees. I just have a couple more questions para sa ARTA. So in its 2022 audit report, COA revealed that ARTA was not able to maximize the benefits of investigating complaints in a timely manner to address red tape as part of its ease of doing business and efficient delivery of government services program due to the lack of definitive timelines provided in processes under sections 5 and 7 and non-compliance with the timelines in some steps for investigation and resolving complaint prescribed under the Memorandum Circular 7 series of 2021 and incomplete documentation or file in the complaint monitoring system. I understand that management agreed to revisit the guidelines, enhance the documentation and filing system, among others, in compliance with that COA observation. So, pwede rin po bang i-provide ni Sec. Perez yung komite ng update sa ano pa bang ibang corrective measures ang in-institute para iwasto itong mga perceived deficiencies sa timely investigation ng mga reklamo ng red tape?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To address the observation by COA, the Anti-Red Tape Authority has responded to it by way of the 2023 revised rules of procedure that is now fully implemented, and the operations manual is ongoing crafting. The 2023 revised rules of procedure was published in the Manila Bulletin on March 20, 2023 and became immediately effective thereafter. So in compliance with the COA's recommendation, timelines have been defined in the 2023 revised rules of procedure and in the operations manual that will be coming out soon. The timeline for assessment of initial complaints and issuance of order of submission of counter affidavit were made in accordance with the periods already provided in the ARTA's updated Citizen Charter. And for the legal department is also updating its Citizen Charter to provide more definitive timelines. On the strict observance of the on the turnaround time in the issuance of resolutions, timely because of the concern raised by Senator JV, we now strictly observe the turnaround time indicated in the guidelines to ensure expeditious, just, and inexpensive disposition of complaints and balance the interests of stakeholders, particularly the complainant and the respondent. Resolutions will be drafted by the handling lawyer within 20 working days from the time the case is submitted for resolution, and which shall be forwarded to the director, who has 15 working days to review, and another 10 working days will be allotted for the review of the Deputy Director General for Legal. Overall, the fully implemented processing time for the issuance of resolution from the time it was submitted for resolution is at 65 working days. Enhancement of complaints documentation and filing system. To enhance the documentation and filing system and to remain strong in its pledge to have a transparent disposition of complaints, thereby safeguarding the reputation of the agency and interest of the public, the ARTA ICT is currently developing a web-based record system that users may access through browsers. This system will be responsible for storing all the files and data, Madam Senator, that are being filed with the authority. Di po yung sabi ko na yung concern was not really brought to my attention. Additionally, the storage of the system is cloud-based. So which the cost is within the range of acceptable amount, thus answering the issue of previous case on records management. Further, legal assistance, administrative assistant, receiving officer of the different divisions under the legal department are directed to keep soft copies and hard copies in file to store them in the respective filing cabinets to strengthen the office records safekeeping. Also, Madam Senator, we highlight the current approach of the authority, which is the empowerment or enabling function to call first for clarificatory meetings or hearings before reaching the formal complaint status. So we now take this that both our operations group and the legal group call on the agencies and the parties to a clarificatory hearing to get details of the issue so that it will now be faster for us to determine the issues and resolve it within the timeline provided for under our revised rules. And we have been very effective on this. In fact, during the last case referred to us, that was only 2 weeks ago, referred no less by the Korean ambassador, we were able to resolve a complaint brought by a top locator within a week from the time it was submitted to us, using this method of clarificatory meeting or hearing involving both the agency and the complainant.
Salamat, Sec. And then a follow-up question dun sa sinimula nating pag-usapan kanina on the Confi and Intel funds regarding sa usage nito. Pwede po bang hingin yung accomplishments nung inyong entrapment operations laban sa mga fixers nung 2022? Ilang mga kaso ba ang na-file? Ilang mga fixer ang naaresto or na-fine? At aling mga ahensya related itong mga kasong ito?
We submit to the committee within 10 days from today, Madam Senator.
Thank you, Secretary. So, nang may maraming pasasalamat kina Sec Perez at maraming salamat kay Sen JV. With no other of our colleagues going to pose questions regarding the budget of ARTA, the proposed budget of the authority is deemed submitted. Salamat po and see you in plenary.
Thank you po. Thank you.
And
Madam
we will
Chair,
be waiting for
Senator
your
Sibi.
submissions.
Yes.